Yeah. Yeah, we're both having interesting mornings. So, where I take tour people out in the middle of the night is about 40 minutes away from where I park. And I got all the way back to where I parked last night and I forgot my backpack on the beach and had to go all the way back. But then I got back hour and a half late. Yeah, later than I should have. Yeah. So that was a whole lot of fun last night.
There
Can
we
you guys
go.
hear Will?
Okay, so welcome to the Rise and Grind Morning Show. I apologize for everything going on today. So something happened with OneDrive, and it dumped everything back onto my PC. So I'm flying blind. I don't have any notes. I don't even have a roster. I have nothing. So everything that was installed last night is gone. That's why the show got scheduled extra late. We noticed that it wasn't scheduled. So lots of weird stuff going on today. But we're going to try to get through it. So my audio is going to be really thin. And yeah, and I got a cricket somewhere. Somewhere there's a cricket. And it's just driving me nuts. I don't know if you guys can hear it.
Uh,
But anyway, Eric, you wanted to start off with a couple of things while I try to
sure.
resurrect a few things here.
They say they can hear you now too, Will. Uh,
Yeah, I'm glad they can hear me. It just sounds like crap, I'm sure.
oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So who knows? So we're going to go a little off the cuff this morning. We're going to talk about a few things that we may not have talked about otherwise. But there's one thing I wanted to talk about this morning. Top free agent safety Justin Simmons is now off of the market. So Jeff Risdon did a nice little article last night about this. The Justin Simmons to Detroit dreams are now officially over.
I feel like he's poking that into my side because I think I was one of the first ones that mentioned Justin Simmons, right?
Yep.
But then I quickly realized it wasn't going to happen. It just
Yeah.
wasn't. That wasn't going to happen. Judon wasn't going to happen. Chase Young was never going. None of them were ever going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
keep on going. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
every Lions fan's favorite free agent safety is off the market. Simmons, who spent his entire 8-year career playing safety in Denver, has signed with the Atlanta Falcons. Surprise, surprise. It's a 1-year deal worth $8 million for Simmons, a second team All Pro in 4 of his last 5 seasons with the Broncos. And I'm kind of surprised that he did sign with Atlanta because Atlanta, as far as I know, didn't have much cap space left because they traded for Judon the day before and they couldn't even have a deal in place with Judon because they didn't have enough to sign him. So that makes this kind of an odd signing. But Simmons was the object of affection for nearly every NFL team that needed safety help, which was a lengthy list. The Lions were never credibly linked to Simmons beyond speculation of interest due to the team's unproven depth at the position. That had led to clamoring for other free agent safeties, including longtime Lions starter Quandre Diggs, who went to the Titans recently. However, with Brian Branch moving to a full time safety role in his second season, the Lions effectively solved the problem from within. Detroit has Branch, Kirby Joseph, Brandon Joseph, and Ife Melifonwu at safety, as well as special team standout CJ Moore. It's the second day in a row the Falcons made a move on a player who was a popular target for Lions fans. On Wednesday, Atlanta traded for Patriots pass rusher and Detroit native Matthew Judon. So, nice little article from Jeff Risdon. And it's this whole off season. I don't get it even during the season. The whole we got to have everybody. Everyone wants every free agent, every guy that comes available. And so this is kind of interesting that this one got squashed since so many people were clamoring for him and saying he was going to come to the Lions. There was lots of rumors flying around. So I thought it was kind of funny that he actually signed with Atlanta, who just got Judon as well, the other
Yeah.
one that was linked to Detroit. So all these guys linked to Detroit, they're not going to Detroit. They're all going to Atlanta. How they're going to
Let's be careful here. They were never linked. They were wanted by Detroit fans. And
want.
I call that, it's the Detroit syndrome, right? The Detroit fan syndrome. Because what happens is when you suck for so long, let's just be honest, we sucked for a long time.
A long time, yes.
And so when you get into the offseason, you're like, how can we make this team better? Oh, I know. Let's go buy that guy, buy that guy, buy that guy, buy that guy, because every GM we had before pretty much sucked. And we had some decent coaches here or there in spurts, right? Fonts and then Caldwell. I think about everybody else in between was terrible. Swartz at times. But I think you get what I'm going with here. We just didn't have a great... We didn't have a great collection or cast of pieces to put it together like Brad Holmes has done with the entire cast around him. The Mike Disners, the Chris Spielmans, I mean, even Sheila Hamp really leading the charge here. And then, selecting a coach like Dan Campbell who totally has taken this league by surprise. And, yeah, it's a feel-good story, but I don't think it's just a feel-good story. I mean, I think that there's more to this. There is foundational elements with this team now. We have stuck our pillars in the ground and started from the mud, and that's why we are where we are now. So that's why you don't go out and buy players, because they don't last. And then you have issues like they're unhappy, and they were never really a part of your team anyway, and it just becomes an issue. So I'm glad we're doing what we're doing. Now, of course, Justin Simmons made the most sense to me from a veteran leadership standpoint, and someone that could have came in right away and really fixed the back end. But, I did expect Branch to go back to safety. And once that was concreted, once the Lions came out and said, hey, that's what we're doing, Simmons was really off the board for me at that point. There is one position right now that, and I don't know what else you had this morning, but there is one position right now that we do need some help in, and that's Sam linebacker. I think that we're real thin over there.
Yeah. The whole Houston project and Matthew Betts trying them out as Sam linebackers just didn't work, so maybe they need to find someone else.
Well, I've heard the analysis, from around the league. People are saying that Matthew Betts is not going to make this roster. I wouldn't be so sure. Like, again, I think when you speak about wide receivers, the issue that we have in the wide receiver room right now, where it's just a log jam at 4-5, 4-5-6, right?
Yep.
You kind of don't need a linebacker beyond 5 linebackers. You really don't. I mean, your 5th linebacker is going to be playing primarily special teams, right? And oftentimes you're going to be in situations where you only have 2 linebackers in, and more often than not you'll have 3 linebackers in. When are you really going to need a 4th linebacker other than rotation? If someone needs a breath or you have an injury, yeah, you need guys that are cross-trained that can play in multiple positions. Alex Anzalone can play middle linebacker. He can play Sam linebacker. Malcolm, he can play just about anywhere, but I feel like he's better in the middle. Jack, yeah, it probably didn't work out the best with him over there. He's better in the middle. Ben Nyman, better in the middle. So we are kind of missing an outside linebacker right now that really gives us that future depth and someone that can really step up in a pinch if needed. So I'd be more interested to see what's going to happen cut week if the Lions do find another outside linebacker that's an upgrade,
Yeah, sure.
And I don't have anyone on the radar at the moment. I really don't. Judon, like I told you guys from the very beginning, wasn't going to happen. Just wasn't. Didn't make any sense. It never does make any sense. Some of that stuff, it's just content fluff,
Yeah. Yeah. I totally didn't see Judon ever coming to the Lions. It was going to be too expensive or a 1-year rental, and I don't see Brad giving away a 3rd-round pick for a 1-year rental.
Yeah. So there's the interesting, J-Rod, hopefully you're feeling better this morning, buddy. Mitchell Agood, he's someone that Mike Kimber has called from the very beginning that guy was going to play well. And so far he has. I mean, I don't know if he's to the point now of sticking to this roster, but he could. But Malik Jefferson, like he really jumped off the page last week. You guys got to watch him tomorrow. Have to watch Malik tomorrow. He's definitely someone that can probably play an outside role. He's a little light. I think he's only like 236 pounds in that range somewhere. Little light, but that means he's a little bit faster on his feet, so his coverage ability should be better. I'll keep an eye on him tomorrow. I'm still going to try to pull up some things here, so if you have anything you want to chat about, go for it.
Well, So, as you know, I am really big on the Facebook groups, in a bunch of NFC North Facebook groups. And there's one thing that they like to bring up, the guys on the other teams, about our Detroit Lions. And that is the fact that we, as an organization, wasted the talent of two Hall of Famers, Barry
Mm.
Sanders and Calvin Johnson. So, someone posed this question to me, and I'm going to pose the question to you. Do you think if either Barry Sanders or Calvin Johnson played with this current regime, would their talents have been wasted at the end of their careers?
Say that again.
So if Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes were in charge when either Calvin or Barry was here playing as a member of the Detroit Lions, do you think they would have stuck around and the tail end of their careers would not have been wasted?
I don't even think we would have ever been in the position that we were in.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? I don't think that it would have ever. We probably would have won a handful of Super Bowls by now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, coaching is everything. I mean, if you don't have it right at the top, you're not going to have it right at the bottom. You know, it's just think of your spine. Good analogy. I just got a bunch of MRIs back. So the top of my neck is all screwed up, right? The middle of my back is all screwed up. So now everything or the bottom of my back is all screwed up. So now the middle is starting to get all screwed up. So if you're out of out of whack somewhere, right? The rest of it just kind of falls out of line too. And I think that's a good analogy for coaching. Like your tree has to have good roots. Got to have a good strong trunk, right? And then you can enjoy the fruits of the flowers and everything later. So same thing should be said for a football team. You have to stick that big pillar into the ground to grow your roots. And that's what Sheila Hamp did with Chris Spielman. And then Chris Spielman identified Brad Holmes. And then Brad Holmes, they already identified Dan Campbell. Then Brad Holmes identified a cast around him that could all work together and have a similar vision. And that is why we are where we are today. This is not a feel-good story. I'm telling you, it's not. This is for real. It's not just a one and done. It's not, we're going to limp into the season and hopefully get something done. No, we're expecting to win and win it all this year. And I've said it that 2024 is the year. And right now I think that I'm still confident we can do it. Injuries aside, we still haven't, we haven't suffered a lot of injuries because we haven't played, any of the starters in preseason. So let's segue into that. Now, I know I don't have a roster this morning, so we're going to kind of be a little bit all over the place. Andy Reid, last night, confirmed. But can we trust him, right? That he's going to play his starters the entire first half of the game.
Oh, wow.
Entire first half of the game. This, to me, seems a little... I don't know. How do you put it? It doesn't seem right. Right? Why would you want to put your starters in on number twos? Because the Lions haven't come up and said that they're gonna, that they're gonna play a bunch of starters. Matter of fact, Dan Campbell's kind of been waffling with the whole thing. Might put in two more guys on the defense. Well, what does that mean for our offense? I would just hate to see, we get totally steamrolled, on Saturday night. And it's because we don't play anybody worth worth a number one shot. So it's going to give us a great opportunity to see who these guys are, which I think is phenomenal for the Lions. And I think that that's a great way for the Lions to approach it. Look, if we want to see how good these guys are going to play in the regular season, if they have to, well, this is a team to do it against. This is arguably one of the best teams in the NFL on paper. They've struggled with some things in the offseason, but it's a solid team. So why not get our twos and threes a real opportunity here and see if they can rise to the occasion, right? You often want to see rookies or young players, guys that haven't been on the team, your twos, threes, and fours. Who are they when the big lights turn on? And this would be a perfect scenario for them. So for that reason, do I really want to see Dan Campbell throw out a bunch of ones? Not really. I really don't. Maybe a couple to kind of maybe even the match a little bit. Maybe a couple like Davenport. I would love to see what he could do. But I still think that you want to stick with a lot of your twos and threes here. So I'll shout it out to you guys in the chat here this morning. You know, what would you rather see? Would you rather see us get steamrolled in a game that doesn't matter, but yeah, we get a really good idea of who our depth is? And I think that is, for me, that's a win-win. I could care less about the score, right? We went 4-0 in what was that, 2008?
Yep.
And then where did we go after that?
0-16.
Right. So preseason means dog crap. It's nothing. It's just a way for you to identify your players. And I think that we've got an amazing and talented cast of coaches that can evaluate these guys a little bit better than what we've had before. So what are your comments on that?
Well, Dan Campbell, he doesn't care about preseason wins. He really does not. He just wants to work on certain aspects of the game, certain looks, certain players, getting them acclimated to playing in the NFL. He does not care whatsoever whether the outcome of the game is 42-7 or if it's 31-31. He doesn't care. And he's not going to care about the preseason until the wins count for something. You know, some of the coaches, they want their team to have a little bit of progression working into the regular season, but I think Dan uses it more as a glorified practice. And I just looked it up. My bet's not looking so great anymore.
Can you back out of it?
Oh, I can't. But the Lions are now a 7-point underdog to the Kansas City Chiefs, and it went from plus 235 to plus 260. So if I would have made my bet today, I would have made even more money for my $50.
Yeah.
So I am counting on the Lions' second, third, fourth, and fifth stringers to pull out a victory on Saturday and win me some money.
Yeah, so Joe in the chat, Joe Schmo, it's a good name. It's funny. So yeah, I lost something. Something happened with OneDrive, and it like dumped all of these files onto my desktop. So not only did I lose all of the files and assets that OBS looks for on your desktop or in your file folders, right? So I lost all of that. So we're flying blind this morning. I lost all my notes from last night because I write shows. I write the show the night before, the morning of, usually at 5:30, and I start writing away. And then the audio issue happened again. Like we had doubling and reverb and echoing, and trust me, everything's turned on and everything's turned off that is supposed to be turned on and turned off. Yesterday worked fine. Last night it didn't. This morning it didn't work fine. So I just don't understand what's going on here. Something's not right, and I'll have a little bit of time between today and tomorrow to try to get it all fixed before tomorrow night. So I apologize. My voice is going to be a little bit thin because I don't know why it does that. It just does. So here's the article. Andy Reid says Chiefs starters will play the entire first half versus the Lions, but can we believe him? Can we trust him? You know, I think that's a big question. I'm not saying that Andy Reid's not a trustworthy guy, but is he trying to bait the Lions to put in some starters? You know, is he trying to bait the Lions to suffer an injury that, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that he would want, anybody to get injured, but I think the possibility is incrementally more that if you put starters in the preseason, they could suffer an injury. So let's be honest here. The Lions are competition. You know, we are a top 5 football team. We are supposed to be headed towards the Super Bowl this season, and so are the Chiefs. I don't think the Chiefs want to see the Lions in the Super Bowl. Absolutely not. They don't. But the article says this. Kansas City Chiefs head coach Andy Reid told the media on Thursday about his ambitious plan for the team's second preseason game, which is against the Lions on Saturday. Quote, as far as the playtime goes, the ones will take a half, and then we'll kind of fill in after that and just kind of see how the rest of that goes for the third and fourth quarters, end quote, Andy Reid. So that would mean starters like Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, are two of the guys that make the Chiefs such an unstoppable force, according to this article, would be playing a full 30 minutes on Saturday against the Lions, just 19 days before they are scheduled to play their first regular season game. Now, I do believe that a lot of players love to get preseason action. Some probably think it's a waste of time, but then there's others that are actually really good at their position that will tell you, I need to get hit and I need to go hit somebody that's not my team. I have to. Whether it's a joint practice or it's a preseason game, I have to feel that. That's just how I get prepared. And I think that's a win-win, right? And I also feel like what we've seen in the first preseason or the first game of the year, if guys don't play, it's a little sloppy. Guys seem a little apprehensive to really let loose and let go because they're trying to feel their way through it. Article goes on to say that the preseason injury threat, though, is very real. But whether it happens during an exhibition game or training camp, for example, Minnesota Vikings first-round quarterback J.J. McCarthy tore his meniscus in the team's very first preseason game last week. He's now had a fully surgically repaired, or he's now had it fully surgically repaired, but it will cost him the entire 2024 season. Here's my take on the injuries. Whether it happened in preseason or happens in week one, it's probably going to happen. Right? Especially things like that. A meniscus, a ligament, style of injury, a muscle. When those things pop and shred and tear and whatever else they do, especially from non-contact, that was meant to be. Like, it was going to happen. It wasn't if, it was when. And if you didn't play in a game, well, and then you had practice, 2 days later, probably would have happened in practice. So that's the only thing that I could tell Lions fans. Like, if we do put starters in and they do get injured, it was probably going to happen if it was non-contact. If it was contact related, those are the arguments that you can make for not playing your starters in preseason, in my opinion. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I'm pretty similar on that. And I don't know what happened with the Minnesota Vikings the last couple of seasons. So not only this year, but last year as well. Kirk Cousins blows an Achilles. J.J. Jefferson, Justin Jefferson gets a really bad hamstring. He's out for 6-8 games. What is up with all of these injuries, all these guys going down for season-ending injuries with the Vikings? I realize some teams get snake bit by the injury bug, but there's something going on over there because I don't know whether it's the turf of where they're playing or the way they're hitting. Maybe they're not stretching correctly.
What field are you talking about?
Their field.
Who?
I don't know where all these injuries are happening.
Which team?
They're all happening for the Vikings.
Oh, for the Vikings. I got you.
Yeah. I just feel bad for the Vikings. They're so snake bitten the last 2 seasons with all of their injuries. How does this happen to one team so badly?
Well, I don't know. I mean, were the majority of them non-contact though?
Yeah, I
think a lot of them were.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think the answer there is it was just going to happen. Unfortunately. So shout out to Tracy. She's trying to drive the likes today. So if you guys remember, no ads this morning from YouTube, as long as you like the stream and we get to 50. If we don't get to 50 within the first 15, 20 minutes of the show, assuming we have enough people in the show, then we got to turn ads on. And I hate doing that. So I'm gonna bounce to an ad right now by one of our sponsors. We'll be back in 46 seconds.
Every day, thousands of people are discovering Uper Lights, Michigan's newest, funnest rock to go find on the shores of the Great Lakes. Don't go out with just any light. Try the Convoy C8 from UperLights.com. It's guaranteed for life, and you'll find all the ones everyone else misses. Quality UV lights that are perfect for Uper Lights with prices starting as low as $20. Please make sure to visit UperLights.com for all your UV flashlight needs with the best guarantees on the market. Just what you wanted and not what you didn't. The best quality, the best guarantees, and the best UV flashlights from UperLights.com.
All right, and we're back. So, the other news popping yesterday, Chase Claypool being released due to injury, toe injury.
Really?
3 months after signing him, the Bills are going to be releasing Chase Claypool. So, at what point are we going to see Chase Claypool to the Detroit Lions? I'm sure it'll happen.
Yuck.
Not the trade or not the pickup. That won't happen. But I'm sure I'll see it at some point that it'll happen. Hold on a second. So anyway, that happened. Chase Claypool, Jalen Johnson. Didn't Jalen Johnson suffer an injury the last couple of weeks?
I don't know.
I thought he did, but they're saying that he's now starting to show some elite play. So doing some NFL roundup. Jimmy Garoppolo's not going to play in the second preseason game. I don't think that's a big loss for anybody. Yeah, I wish I had all my notes. We had so much to talk about today. So, Chiefs versus Lions preseason. How to watch it. Excuse me, with and without cable. Where's it at? What time? And so Lions and Chiefs tomorrow is at 3 p.m. Central Standard, or would that be 4 p.m. Eastern Standard? Back at Arrowhead. Go ahead. You say something?
Nope.
Okay. So back at Arrowhead, you can watch the Lions with cable on any major cable provider, whether it's Google Fiber, DirecTV, Spectrum, AT&T Fiber. You can access it via the preseason TV affiliates for the Chiefs if you happen to live in that area. CBS 5 in Alaska, Fox 22 in Jefferson City, Fox 17 in Iowa, KGMB in Honolulu. I know we do get a few fans from Hawaii that jump in from time to time. Code TV in Pittsburgh. Of course, KSHB 41 in Kansas City. NFL Plus will be having it. Sling TV, Hulu Plus Live, YouTube TV, Fubo TV, all will be airing tomorrow's preseason game. So if you have NFL Plus, that's a great way to watch it. Of course, you can also watch it right here, assuming my audio is going to be fixed tomorrow. Chef and I should be doing the live play-by-play commentary of the game tomorrow night. Eric, of course, if you're ever free, you're more than willing to jump in. You just got to let us know.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to do tomorrow. I have a personal appearance I got to make tomorrow.
Let's see here. Top 10 players to watch tomorrow, according to Christian Boer of the Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated on SI. I guess that's how you say that. Sion Vaki. So Sion Vaki is definitely one of the players that I want to see again. Last week he jumped out to lead the team in rushing. He had 4 carries, 29 yards. When he was in college, right, he had a crazy good yards per carry average. I don't remember what it was, but this guy really. Let me look it up. College stats. In 2023, if it'll pull up, 2023, he had, it's not going to show it on PFF. Why is it not showing it on PFF for his offense? That's interesting. 1 second. So this is why we have to write things in advance. Okay, 2023, he played in 12 games where he had 42 attempts rushing, 317 yards, 7.5 average. And I heard a lot of people saying, he had, 4 carries for 29 yards, which was 7.25 yards per carry. That's right in line with what he did in college. Now, you would expect, a little bit less than that at the next level, right? Because you're playing against top tier talent. But I wasn't surprised. I was not surprised at all that he was able to do what he did with the ball. He runs different. He's a different style of running back. Coming from the defensive side of the ball, you learn a few things. You learn where guys are, and you learn what they're gonna do, and maybe where they're gonna shade or whatever on that play or in that coverage. And he finds the open hole and he hits it. And he can make you miss. I mean, he's not, crazy explosive, but he can make you miss. And some guys just play the game faster than what their 40 times say. So Monrad's a good example of that. He was a 4.5 40, but yet he was clocked at 21, 22 miles per hour the last season. So I think that tells you that people just play differently when the game's on the line. So Vaki provided an intriguing glimpse of his potential last week. 4 carries, 29 yards in the preseason opener. He's still growing. Obviously, he needs to learn a lot, with this offense. And this offense is not easy. It's extremely complicated. The Lions will be without Jahmyr Gibbs, and clearly they're not going to, run David Montgomery. So there will be opportunities for Vaki to show us again what he can do. And this is a great defense to go and do that against. So how much, he gets in, we're not real sure. I would expect him to probably play a half and Craig Reynolds to probably play another half and then get some sprinkles of Jamar Jefferson, in there. I guess is where I'm thinking that's going to end up. But I'd say he'd probably get at least a third of the snaps tomorrow. What do you think?
I don't see why he doesn't. And another little stat I was just looking at that Vaki had an average of 104.5 yards per game receiving and 20.9 yards per catch. So that sounds an awful lot like Gibbs, with the whole receiving and rushing. So maybe this guy's a little bit more of a dual threat than even I was thinking.
I'm sorry, who was that?
For Vaki.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Vaki, he can play both sides of the football. I really love what he does. And I don't know if you guys have had a chance to... go back and watch the Vaki video that I did, but go watch it. It's interesting to, I'm going to go back and watch it again. I threw it out there a couple of weeks ago. But let's just go see what I said. I want to hear what I said and go through it and see how close I was, because that was a pre-draft call on Vaki that I thought that he would be a Detroit Lion. I thought he'd be a great fit, and he ended up being a good fit. So I'm excited to see where those talents that we identified in that video, how they're transitioning right now in the NFL. And I'm excited to see where his future ends up. Obviously, David Montgomery's in the last year of his contract, right? I mean, he was only signed for 2 years? Or was he signed for 3?
3.
Was it 3?
Yeah.
Okay, so we still have another year with David, which is good. But, Sian Vaki will be here for 4 seasons at least, and that, gives us a really good backup that can also take his position at some point. So also on the depth chart, tomorrow, another player to be looking for, according to Christian Boer, which is someone that I believe is going to have a pretty solid game tomorrow, is Mekhi Wingo. He was pretty ticked off at himself last week. He was not happy with the way that he played, and he dove right into it this week. Aaron Glenn really highlighted him this week and said how successful this guy is going to be. He can be a CEO of a company, and no matter what he does, he's going to be successful at it because of his attitude and the way that he practices and puts things first, right? So Mekhi Wingo, he didn't have his best showing. Tomorrow, is going to be a day where he can kind of get some of that back. And it's got to be a good showing for him to show us what he really has. It's a tough offense. It's a tough offensive line at times. So it'll be intriguing to see if Wingo can go show some growth in his second preseason game, which is what you want to see. You just want to see these guys grow a little bit. The Lions' defensive line was really able to generate a lot of pressure at points last week. And I think that this week we'll see a little bit more. He's on my short list of guys that could get to Mahomes, if Mahomes is still in when Wingo's in. So what do you think about Wingo?
That would be very interesting to see Wingo get through the starting line of the Chiefs, a sack or some pressure. Wouldn't that be awesome to see some growth out of Wingo from week to week? I think that's about all we can expect right now, is just to see some growth from week to week. So seeing a sack or some pressures, that would be incredible to see. That would make me very happy.
Yeah, 40 Gumbo, I've addressed it a few times. Something happened. My computer, again, it dumped everything out of OneDrive. OneDrive is full. When I try to purchase OneDrive, which I have an account with OneDrive, it's telling me I can't even purchase it. So something's not right, and it screwed everything up. But I don't know why any of this would affect the mic. And we've checked every setting this morning for a half hour, and something's not right. Now, I did spill a little bit of coffee on the Roadcaster when I was at the Hall of Fame week. So there could just be some circuit in here that is intermittently not working well. I might just have to send it into Roadcaster to have it fixed. That's about my only other option other than buying another one, which I really don't want to do, but do what we got to do, I guess. So Kindle Vildor is another player to look out for. Now, he's been catching the attention of the defensive coaches the past week. And with multiple injuries now, you're going to have more of Kindle Vildor, I think, in this game. So I don't think that there's a plan right now to play Ennis Rakestraw or Terry and Arnold in this game tomorrow. Based on their injuries, I think it's best to, just let them sit it out, let them rest. This would have been a phenomenal game. I can only imagine Terry and Arnold is probably a little heated right now that he can't go up against Patrick Mahomes, because when is he going to have another opportunity?
The Super Bowl.
Right. That's about it. That's the only other time that we're going to be able to see the Chiefs again this year. And understanding Terry and Arnold's competitive nature, just through his videos alone, the guy wants to go up against the best. There's no doubt about it. He wants to be the best. He wants to go up against the best. He wants to beat the best. But we'll get a good shot at Kindle Vildor. Last season, he was thrown into a rough situation. Terrible cast of DBs around him. You could blame it any which way you want to. I mean, Cam Sutton was never supposed to be the number one, in my opinion. I don't think I'm sharing that opinion alone anymore. Emmanuel Mosley was supposed to have a bigger role. Obviously, he was hurt, didn't play. And then the rest of the guys around him. I think Iffy and Kirby had okay seasons. I know Kirby had, a fairly decent grade at times. But I feel like there was just too much happening there that these guys just couldn't come together. They couldn't string together a couple of good games. They had a few interceptions here or there, but that was about it. We didn't get, consistency out of these guys. So I think that when Kindle Vildor is now in this defense for a second season, he's gone through training camp now, whereas last year he didn't, that now you're going to see a different side of Kindle Vildor in the game. I think that he has the ability to play well. I saw spurts out of him last year where he played well. I don't care about the whole Ayuk play. I didn't see a penalty there, but that was a very difficult play. One that Cam Sutton should have been on top of, because if you go back and watch it, Cam's just kind of sitting back looking and watching and not running to the ball to help make a play. So there's a lot of blame that could be passed around here, but I really want to see Kindle Vildor take a positive step forward tomorrow. I still believe that he's probably going to make this roster, and he's going to be perfect, for this defense as far as a backup role that has starting ability, and that's what you want to see is solid depth. So with several injuries at the cornerback position, Vildor should be able to get some more reps with the first team defense again, like he did this week. But he should be one of the first ones out there on Saturday. Vildor, by most accounts, has been a bubble watch style of player throughout camp. I think he's more trending towards making the roster. Khalil Dorsey has got to have a big showing. Stephen Gilmore needs to have a big showing, because those two guys haven't really put together a great camp so far. So what is your thoughts here on Kindle Vildor and then Khalil Dorsey and Stephen Gilmore?
So the biggest thing about Vildor is this. He came in, put boots on the ground, and played his absolute tail off last year, midway through the season, not knowing our defense, not knowing a person on the team. Came in halfway through the season, learned our defense, played his heart out, had some really good plays, had some really bad plays. But you want to know what he didn't have? A supporting cast. He was out there with a bunch of
misfits,
fourth and fifth string cornerbacks and safeties, and it was before Melifanu had come on, and he just had no one around him. He had no help. Cam Sutton, you could have put a wet sock out on the field and it would have been better than Cam Sutton. At least somebody could have slipped on it or something. He just had no help whatsoever. So now this year, with a full training camp, he's ingrained into this team. I don't see how you can keep Kindle Vildor. I don't know how you can keep him off the team this year. I really don't. I see him as kind of a lock for the roster now, where I didn't have him when we did our 53-man projection. I might have to change my tune on him. He's been turning heads in training camp, and there's one thing that Brad and Dan really value, and that's trust. When they can trust a guy to be in the right position and do their job, they trust them to be on the team. And I think that's what Vildor has done. He's earned the trust of Dan and Brad, and he's starting to come on in the practices. I've been hearing lots of really good things about Vildor, making plays and breaking up passes and that kind of stuff. So I would not be surprised one bit if he ends up actually making the 53-man roster.
So when you look at the depth chart, right, varied depth charts, you would have Carlton Davis as your number one on the left side. Ennis Rakestraw would be your number two on the left side. Then you have Khalil Dorsey after him. Or you have Kindle Vildor. I think Kindle Vildor probably fits in that third position behind Rakestraw. On the right side, you have Terrion Arnold, but that's where I think that you would have Kindle Vildor as your second option on this team right now, behind Terrion Arnold. So that would be your top four corners, right? And then in the nickel position, you have Amik Robertson. Brian Branch would be your number one nickel, and then Amik. But with Brian at safety, it would be Amik and then Brian. So there would be your top five: Carlton, Terrion, Amik, Ennis, the Menace, Kindle Vildor. With Emmanuel Mosley gone, that makes a way for Khalil Dorsey to have a shot at making this roster. Going to need to see something from Lawrence Strickland tomorrow. Whether he gets in the second half of the game, going to need to see something from him to see if he even still has a shot. Boris Norris is gone, IR. Lions brought in Essang Bassi. Don't know anything about the kid. He'll probably get some playing time in the second half at a minimum. But Stephen Gilmore, someone that, a lot of fans have enjoyed having around the roster, primarily because, his brother or his cousin?
His brother,
the other Gilmore, that a lot of people wanted to come to the Lions. And again, I never expected that to happen. It hasn't happened. Probably won't ever happen. And I think that he has an inside track because he has the NFL bloodline. And I think that Gilmore still has a lot more in the tank that he just hasn't shown yet. So I think it's going to be a dogfight between Dorsey, Gilmore, and Strickland, for one of those guys to make this roster. And that gives you Carlton, Terrion, Ennis the Menace, Kindle Vildor, Amik Robertson. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be your sixth spot. So Khalil, Steven, or Lauren's going to make up that sixth spot. And I do think that they keep 6 DBs this season. And they'll probably keep 4, maybe 5 safeties if they have a fifth safety. But you got Brian Branch, Kirby, Ifeatu Melifonwu, and CJ Moore that are rounding out your top 4 as safeties right now. So that would give you 10 DBs overall, and I think that's a very comfortable position to be, on this team, is to have 10 DBs at a minimum. I can't imagine that they keep 9, and I don't think that they'll keep 12. I think it's somewhere between 10 and 11 is that magic number. And again, that's going to depend on what happens with, that fourth tight end or that fourth running back or, the 9th or 10th offensive lineman or defensive lineman. That's where that story is going to get written. Is depending on those other spots first. Next up here, and by the way, today's roster would have been and still is brought to you by Pro Sports Zone. So if you guys are looking for the latest gear, merchandise, memorabilia, and of course only the best customer service in the industry, please check out Pro Sports Zone today or whenever you have a chance to get there, located at 37658 6 Mile Road in Livonia, Michigan, inside the Laurel Park Place Mall. Go say hi to John Yu and family running the store. And of course, they have a college store right across the hall. You can get anything you want for any team in Michigan and other sports. Tell him Will Rock sent you from Rock Down Podcast. We'll see if he's got a little discount for you. But today's roster was brought to you by Pro Sports Zone. I apologize, couldn't have the roster up, but we'll try to get that fixed for tomorrow. Next up here for Christian Boer on his list. Let's keep going through his list here. Tight end, James Mitchell. So in Detroit's crowded tight end room, and it is a bit crowded, he says that Mitchell may have some more work to do when it comes to claiming his place on the final roster. You got Sam Laporta, obviously unlikely to play tomorrow. Brock Wright, potentially resting for a second consecutive week. I don't expect either of them to play. So there should be plenty of opportunity for Mitchell, is what Boer is saying. But I think that there's going to be plenty of opportunity for Shane Zielstra and Parker Hess. I think that if the Lions are planning on keeping 4, they're going to want to see if Mitchell can beat out Parker or Zielstra here. I think it's a long shot. I love the fact that, Mitchell had great size and ability. He just hasn't shown the ability to stay healthy. And we know the best ability is availability. And it just seems like it's been a continuation of problems for James Mitchell, whether it's dropped passes at the wrong time, broken fingers, or whatever he had last year at the wrong time. He did come into the league with an ACL, I believe, so it took him a minute to even get back and ready to play. But he just hasn't shown enough. He hasn't shown enough that he can be trusted, to your point. If he's not trusted, he's not making the roster. Right now, I do feel like it is Sam Laporta, Brock Wright, and Shane Zielstra at the top 3. But I think that Parker has, is made his presence well known last week. Let's see him do it again this week. I love the fact that they use him, as an H-back, out of the backfield. I want to see that again this week. I think that if the Lions only keep 3, I like Parker Hess better than Shane, but Shane is a better pass catcher. So what are your thoughts on the tight end room with James Mitchell here? I think James Mitchell's out. I don't think he's making this roster.
So if we rewind just a little bit and we go back to the offseason when they had tight end U, and you remember we were talking about this, that all of our tight ends, this is back before we had Hess on the roster, that all of our tight ends, except for James Mitchell, went to tight end U. And I thought that was such a strange thing at the time. Why would all of our tight ends go, but he didn't go? And it was an open invite, I guess, for all of them to go, but yet James Mitchell didn't go and everyone else did. So at the time, I thought it was kind of odd. And now you're kind of seeing that all come to fruition. All the other guys on the roster seem to be doing much better than James Mitchell. There's something going on with the kid. Don't know if he's just the odd man out, but he hasn't been lighting it up in training camp. And you would think for a guy that was a 5th-round pick, and we picked him because he was injured. So that means that Brad and Dan thought that he was probably a 3rd, 2nd round type of project, but he was injured, so that's why they took him, and they were willing to sit on him for a year or 2 and see how he would mature as a player and come along in the system. And it's just not happening. You see a tiny little flash now and then, but other than that, there's just really nothing. Where you put Zielstra out on the field, you're seeing production. You put Hess out there last week, man, he looked really good in that preseason game. So this game tomorrow is going to be absolutely huge for Mitchell. It may be one of his last as a Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I agree with all that. So I'm going to skip quarterback right now because I think that this one's, I think it's more well-defined than it's not. Hendon Hooker's your number 2. That story's written. It's done. All we're looking for on Saturday is that these backup quarterbacks with Nate Sudfeld and Jake Fromm, which, by the way, he hates the All-State thing that people have been saying. He hates it. So keep saying it. All we need to see is that they're going to make some good decisions at helping these, younger guys get the ball. Like, I just need Nate to deliver the ball to these guys. Because wide receiver is such an impactful position on this team right now, and it's a position that is up in the air for a lot of fans, a lot of the writers, a lot of the inside. I mean, everybody is kind of wondering, even the coaches, who the hell is going to step up? who's going to, and this has got to be the game, especially if they've got their number ones in. This is when the metal gets tested. Are we going to see Khalif Raymond tomorrow? I've heard there's a possibility. And not that he really needs to be seen. I think that Khalif is probably safe, right? I think he's safe. But they do want to see someone step up. And right now, I really do believe that you have to call out everybody that is behind Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams. Khalif Raymond, not so much. But everybody else has got to get called out right now to go make a play. You've got to be seen in tomorrow's game. Otherwise, you're probably, on the outs. I want to see Hendon Hooker, get in there. Hopefully he can. I'm not going to, say I'm for or against someone playing a week after a head injury. Personally, I think it's a little soon. But if they feel like it was a minor injury and he's fine, I would love to see him go out there and get some time in. But then you're going up against the number one defense. I just don't want to see him get injured again, where he's probably a little bit on shaky ground after an injury like that. Nate Sudfeld, though, he's just got to deliver the damn ball. Like, put him in shotgun all day. I don't care. We need to see him deliver the ball to these guys because you're hurting your own team if you don't have someone that can deliver the ball to your fourth, fifth, and sixth wide receivers to help them take a step forward. And maybe Jake Fromm is that guy. Maybe he is able to deliver the ball more accurately than what Nate Sudfeld has shown us already. So I'm kind of skipping over quarterback, but in the wide receiver room, Isaiah Williams, dude is dynamic with the ball in his hand. Absolutely. And Christian Boer believes the same thing. It says that he has a dynamic skill set that could set him apart from other receivers battling for a roster spot. Now, he had a good showing in the first preseason game, but what he doesn't mention is it was late against, the bottom of the roster. It was late. I want to see Isaiah Williams get in early and show us what he can do against some of the tougher competition. It's an uphill battle, right? It is right now, but right now 4, 5, and 6, or even 7 on this depth chart have done nothing to separate themselves. So I want to see Isaiah Williams get early action. I want to see DPJ get in there and get some early action. And I want to see more passes thrown. Quit handing the ball off and get the ball to to these receivers early to see what they can do. We'll see what happens, but right now in the wide receiver room, Eric, who do you feel are the most important 3 receivers that we need to see get some really good action tomorrow and take a step forward? And who are you expecting to take a step forward?
Well, there's 4 of them. So we have Darius Fountain. You have, what is this, Tyron Smith? Or
Traquan Smith.
And then you have DPJ and you have Williams. So those 4 right there, those 4 are vying for that number 4 spot. And what better situation could you have possibly ever than going up against one of the best defenses in the NFL to show that you deserve to play on this team? You couldn't serve it up on a better platter. So if the Chiefs are going to play their number 1 defense for a half against our team, what better situation do you have than going up against the best to show that you deserve to play against the best? So I personally, I love it. This is going to mean it's going to be way more difficult. And I want to see what iron sharpens what iron. I want to see who can get through the sludge and have a couple of bad plays and come back and perform. I want to see who can make it out of this log jam, because the cream's going to rise to the top. Somebody is going to have a good game. We're going to have at least one player that's going to separate themselves from everyone else. And what better way to do it than right here? And I can't tell you who's going to do it. I don't know who's going to do it. If you had to nail me down to pick one person, maybe DPJ. Maybe he has that game that everyone's clamoring for.
I think I'm right there with you. I think it takes Hendon Hooker, though.
Yeah.
I think it takes Hendon Hooker to be in the game. I don't think that Nate Sudfeld is going to give DPJ an opportunity to shine. I just don't. He has not been able to deliver the ball.
But remember, everyone has a bad day. Maybe Nate Sudfeld last game was just his bad day. We've never seen him be that bad before, ever.
Whoa.
So maybe that was just his horrible day.
Didn't he come in last year and throw a pick on the first play?
But listen, last year he was fresh. We had just pulled, if you remember, we just pulled him off of what was it, San Fran's practice squad or something?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you got to give a guy a pass when they're just getting here. But
at the end of the day, I hope the Lions fans aren't thinking that we're going to win this game. And I'm not saying that it can't be done. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I'm not SOL or anything like that. But look, you're going up against Super Bowl champs #1 roster against our 2s and 3s. If we're not down by 21 points at the half, I would be surprised. I would be elated, because that means our defense is actually really deep. So we might not have as much vanilla playbook going on if we can't affect Mahomes. So last night, I put some notes together. I don't even know if I can pull those up, on what defenses we should probably be looking forward to, and how can we really disrupt Patrick Mahomes. Because there was a great question that came in last night, and the question was, if the Lions were playing the ones in tomorrow's game, how would the Lions effectively contain Patrick Mahomes? And what defensive schemes should the Lions use to limit the effectiveness of the Chiefs' high-powered passing attack? So kind of multiple questions here. And here was my answer. The Detroit Lions' new defense might use a mix of defensive fronts and coverage schemes to really disrupt Mahomes' rhythm, because that's where it starts. If you can get him off his rhythm, then you can start to effectively contain Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs' passing attack just by doing that. The Lions should focus on generating consistent pressure tomorrow night on Mahomes. And I don't care who's in the game, they're going to have to dial up the same defense they would for the starters. But this can be achieved, obviously, through creative blitz packages, and we started to see a few of those last year. Especially in the nickel, we started to see, Ifeatu Melifonwu, Brian Bray. I mean, all sorts of different DBs starting to get some action in. It'll create strong defensive play if we can be unique and multiple and disguise what we're trying to do. Stopping the run, obviously, is goal #1 every game. Making the Chiefs more one-dimensional helps us to get into the right coverages and then disguise those coverages to really confuse Mahomes, which is very difficult to confuse, which allows the defensive line to create more pressure. Now, if we're going to see Marcus Davenport tomorrow, I think that would be a phenomenal opportunity to really see what he has. I haven't heard either way if that's going to happen. May or may not come out today. Probably won't know till the start of the game tomorrow who's going to be in. So defensive fronts. The one that I love the most, the one that I called for all last season based on who we had on the roster, right? The depth of that roster and what we were not able to do, in the first half of the season. What could we do in the second half that would separate us was the 4-2-5. I see us in the 4-2-5 often this year. That alignment, though, can be disguised out of the 4-3. So it allows for better coverage against the pass while keeping enough players in the box to defend against the run. The 4-down lineman can generate enough pressure. And now when you look at the fact that we've totally upgraded and revamped this defense to provide interior pressure, Ali McNeil is turning into a guy that can not only give you pressure, but he can also attack the pass rusher. DJ Reader takes up double teams and allows, a few gaps to be eaten up, at least two and a half, 3 gaps to be eaten up, which allows players like Jack Campbell and others to then sneak in and find a hole to get to the passer. So you have 2 linebackers, on the field, 5 defensive backs, in covering various defensive passing zones, whether you got 3 safeties in or whether you have 5, just a mix of DBs. It doesn't matter. It's 2 safeties, 3 safeties. Hell, you could even have 4 safeties at one point if you want to go big, depending on where they are on the field. But that really allows this team to stay multiple and diverse. And then you have what I have not seen this team do a whole lot of, the 3-3-5. So if you're not familiar with the 3-3-5, that's 3 down linemen. And I wish I had the board up today because I want to show you what I'm thinking, but we'll try to get it ready for tomorrow night. This front could be very effective, not only at confusing Mahomes with the different blitz packages and coverages, but the extra defensive back help can really help in covering the Chiefs' speedy receivers, which we know they added one. They lost one, they added one. While the 3 linemen and 3 linebackers can focus on generating pressure and containing the run game and keep Mahomes in the pocket, which is difficult to do at times. But imagine this, Eric, and then I want to get your take on this. Imagine this for a minute. You have Aiden Hutchinson on the left. No, let me back up. You have Broderick Martin in the middle. No, DJ Reader in the middle. Broderick Martin next to him. And then Mekhi Wingo next to him. That's your 3 down linemen. And then for the 3 behind them, so for your 3 linebackers, you put Aiden Hutchinson in the up position. Or out in almost like a wide 9 almost. Right? You put Jack Campbell in the middle. Alex Anzalone off on the right. That's a pretty stout front. And then you got your 5 DBs, but you're going to go big. So you're going to have Brian Branch, Kirby, and Iffy, and then probably roll with Amik Robertson and Carlton Davis. To me, that seems like that's big, but also you got Amik who's a little bit more speedier. You can take on the bigger guys. That's a crazy front to me. Gives us speed. It gives us flexibility. You can do multiple different things within the 3-3-5, and I did not see the Lions run that much, if at all, last year. Like, I can't name one play or one game where we ran that front. And typically you don't out of a 4-3 base defense. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to do things different this year. I see our defense being much different. And now that we have big nose tackle type of players that you typically don't see in a 4-3 defense, I mean, Broderick and DJ Reader are essentially nose tackles with their size. They can eat up multiple gaps, which means you don't need 4 down linemen. So I would love to see that. And then coverage schemes. Let me kick it over to you. What would you think about us only using 3 down linemen, going big like that with Reader and Broderick Martin? Now that we've seen Broderick actually show us that he can do a few things.
Yeah, it's nice to see. People say all the time that Brad and Dan Campbell give certain players too much of a leash and they have too much trust in them. But I kind of like it that they don't just pull the rug out from under them too quickly and they let players develop and bring them along naturally. So I kind of like that. And if you remember back to Aiden Hutchinson's rookie season and his rookie season, he dropped back into coverage quite a few times. And that's something you really didn't see last year. Because if you remember, he had that interception against Aaron Rodgers in Aaron Rodgers last season, the one he had in Detroit. He dropped back in coverage, and Aaron Rodgers didn't think that big old Aiden Hutchinson was going to drop in coverage, and he did. And he actually got an interception or 2. So that's really cool to see. And that's another flavor that they really didn't use last year, and maybe they'll bring that back.
Trying to look at the chat here. Superintendent Chalmers says, "Do you wanna use some 4-1-6 if we get Mahomes into a 3rd and long?" I'd have to evaluate that for myself. I can't say that I've ever seen that, but that doesn't mean you only have one guy in the middle. I mean, you got guys that will filter down, and be up on the line. And it keeps you multiple. It just means you only have one true linebacker and then 6 DBs, which, hey, I mean, that's kind of more of a dime prevent style of package, right? You got more DBs in to prevent the pass. What is this going on? Is Broski Bear in here, or is there something going on that I missed?
I don't know. Yeah, they're talking about him like he's Beetlejuice. I guess he got kicked out of another podcast last night. I guess it was hilarious. And then someone said I was soft, and then somebody said that I have a kind heart, but I'm Gandalf and I'm a kung fu fighter behind this beard. So they're going on.
You gotta be careful here with Eric. You don't know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, just you guys wait. You've never seen me mad.
You've heard of the Hawk smash. He's got the Uperlite smash. You just don't know. Yeah. He's got the secret Uperlite dust.
Hey, did we get up to 50 likes yet? We were really darn close. We need 3 more. 3.
Yeah,
Come on.
3 more. So get those 3 likes in, and we'll be back in 40 seconds when it's done. Well, maybe not. Here we go.
Is here and you want the latest news and rumors on your Detroit Lions. Head to sportspider.com. That's sports, SPYDER.com, where you can get your Lions news and all your sports in one place. Man, this site is packed with your favorite podcasts, live news, articles from local writers, and insiders, all updating in real time. Not just the Lions, every major sports team, including MMA, UFC, and so much more. Don't want to waste time searching? Sign up for free. Create your ultimate sports news hub. You control what hits your feed at SportsSpider, your #1 source for all your sports. Visit sportspider.com today, right after the show.
All right, hopefully we got up to 50 likes. So we don't play ads as long as you guys like the stream. And ads will stay off as long as we get to 50. So we got about 12 minutes or so. I've got to get to an appointment today, so I'm going to have to cut off a little bit early. But coverage schemes. So answering this question, I was talking about coverage schemes too. I mean, everyone understands we have cover 2, we have cover 3 zones, right? These zones can really limit the deep passes by keeping safeties over the top, forcing Mahomes to really rely on shorter, more methodical throws. Man coverage with safety help by matching up with the Chiefs receivers in man coverage while providing deep safety help. The Lions can challenge Mahomes to make precise throws under pressure. I'm more inclined that we're going to be in more man coverage type of schemes, in coverage schemes, versus the majority of teams this year. Last year, we were running a man defense with zone DBs, and it didn't work. Clearly, it didn't work. We should have just stayed in zone. I think we would have been much better in zone than trying to run man-to-man with guys that couldn't run man-to-man. So with now the addition of Carlton Davis, Terry Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw, these are guys that play man-to-man. There's no other way to look at it. AG wants a man-to-man defense. He wants to go man-heavy, and then he wants to run his blitz packages, off of the defensive line. Not so much the outside, but the interior of the defensive line, whether it's going to be linebackers, or it's going to be a Brian Branch sneaking up from the safety spot. That's where he really wants to see, in my opinion, and from what I've heard and read and seen, the center of this defense is going to provide a lot of pressure and provide a lot of opportunity to get, sacks or coverage sacks, whatever you want to call it, because we're going to have guys that can defend man-to-man. And then you have pressure strategies. So blitz strategies and blitz packages, just mixing them into well-timed blitzes, whether it's from the linebackers and defensive backs, that really disrupt Mahomes' timing and force him to make quick decisions. I've watched a lot of tape on Mahomes over the years. And the one thing that he never does good against are blitz packages coming from the linebackers and the DBs. He's ready for the defensive ends. 1,000%. He's ready. He can evade your defensive ends. The one thing he can't evade is a center pressure with DBs or linebackers firing that he does not see. So that's where I think that we could have a lot of success tomorrow. I've already called it out. I think that we're going to get a sack, up the middle from a linebacker tomorrow. And I think that it could be potential that we get another sack, with one of the DBs tomorrow. We'll see what happens. But that's my goal for the Lions, not just tomorrow, but for the season. I want to see us in multiple, different coverages and schemes that just try to confuse the hell out of everybody. Remember, they have tape on us now. But the tape that they had on their defense last year was crap. So this year, it's got to be different. Simulated pressures, show blitz, but then dropping back. So the Vikings did that a lot last year, but they did it to a degree that was way different than I've seen in a long time. They were dropping 8 guys back, bringing 8 guys up, dropping 8 guys back. It was crazy. And it worked for them at times. I don't see the Lions doing anything close to that, but we do need to play more possum, if you will. And stop being so vanilla. Last year, I didn't see enough movement. I didn't see enough switching. I didn't see enough stunts. I want to see these guys jumping around and being in different spots. It doesn't mean that they have to rush the quarterback every single time. But you've got to get people uncomfortable. And if you're moving around and making the quarterback uncomfortable, that helps you. But you also have to be comfortable within the scheme. And I think that this year, fourth season, in the same scheme, same coach. The only thing that's changed really is DB coach and line coach almost every year, it seems like. But we have the same players, the same AG. Now it's time to really pull out all the stops, AG, and show us what you're working with, okay? Overall, the Lions need to be creative. They need to adapt. They need to combine pressures to cover and contain Mahomes. And his explosive playmaking ability. He can run. It's not his first option anymore, but he can run. With all that said, Eric, you got anything you want to add to that?
We did it. We had 57 in the stream just a second ago with 57 likes, batting 100%, and we've done it every day this week that we were on.
Good work. Good job, people. Appreciate it. I appreciate all the help. It does help us. And, of course, when you guys are watching the show later on today or tonight or whenever you catch the show, please keep liking. Please keep helping us. That's the only thing that we ask in return. We pay for all your ads. Just do us a favor and like the stream. So thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. You guys have always been, always will be the best sponsors and supporters of this channel. Without donating $1, that's how you can help us. Who did the Chiefs add that could be a potential issue tomorrow? Xavier Worthy. Now they're down Hollywood Brown. He's injured with a clavicle, I believe. So won't see him, but we're going to see Xavier Worthy tomorrow. What do you think? Who gets the first crack at Xavier?
Well, this is the thing I think about Xavier Worthy. I was there when he broke the record, and the kid is fast. But I'll tell you one thing I'll tell you one thing that he isn't, and that's big. He is very, very skinny. He might weigh $160. If he's put on a little weight, maybe $170. He is very, very frail, very thin. All it's going to take is one DB coming over the middle and smashing the hell out of that kid, and there's an injury waiting to happen. I thought JMO looked really thin before. He's looked really nice and thick this season compared to the 2 seasons before.
Awesome.
And this Worthy kid is like to the extreme skinny. Like seriously, he's very, very frail, very, very thin. And I think he did that so he could run the fastest 40. And that was his whole goal in going to the combine, was to run the fastest 40. So I really think that when he gets hit by a first string DB, that is going to be his first real taste of the NFL. And I don't know how this kid is for running the route tree. Is he catching everything over the middle? Is he catching all the little slants? Or is he just a burner kid like JMO was in his first year, where he's just doing, post routes? That's it. So
yeah, I think it's the latter. I haven't heard much on his route tree, but I do know, they utilize him a lot on the outside to get deep. So a couple of players to watch here. So Kamal Hayden, he was my 5th round pick in this year's draft for the Lions to fill in some depth at corner. Now, Brad Holmes went early and went rounds 1 and 2 to take care of the depth chart there for, our future with Ennis, the Menace, and Terry and Arnold. So Kamal Hayden, I really loved his tape. He was taken in the 6th round by the Chiefs. So pay attention to Kamal Hayden if he's in tomorrow, and let's see how well he played. Let's see if we spotted one. Obviously the Chiefs don't make too many mistakes when it comes to drafting good quality guys. They just make mistakes on their rap sheets. So that's one. Hunter Norzad was also my backup center to Ragnow pick. I had him in the 5th round or the 4th round. I think it was the 5th round of this year's draft. So when he gets in, I'm going to be watching him a little bit. And then Kingsley. So Kingsley Suamataia is playing left tackle for the Chiefs. And I'm really interested to see how Mathieu Betts and whoever else is getting in on the right side of the defense takes on Kingsley. Because Kingsley has promised that he's going to be coming in, in tomorrow's game, playing lights out. So we'll see what happens with those picks. Then obviously Xavier Worthy, whoever picks him up in the very beginning of the game. Look, if Ennis is out and Terrian's out, out and Carlton doesn't get in, Amik could be the guy. He could be taking up, Xavier Worthy, or it could be Kendall Vildor. We'll just have to see what happens. I don't like the fact that we just don't have good preseason depth charts that make sense. So it's hard to really put together an idea of who's going to play. It's all guessing. That's why I love the regular season, because these shows and the pregame shows are much more in depth when we know who's playing, because we can really go in and attack it, man to man, and how they've been doing this season and last season, strengths and weaknesses, versus this type of player's tendencies and that type of player's tendencies. And so that's what we do in the pregame shows. So tell a friend, our pregame shows are going to be off the hook. And next week, all 22 will be on in a morning show. So you guys do not want to miss it. You'll know probably a day in advance, maybe 2 days in advance when he's coming on. I just emailed him back this morning, and we're working on figuring out which morning he'll be on. So that'll be a packed hour of all 22, man. He's great at what he does. And he's really taken on the Lions, I think, as his second team. If I'm not mistaken, the Ravens, I think, are his first team. But I'll figure that out in communication. But I love what he does, man. He does an excellent job, and I think that he's going to paint us a really great picture of who this Lions defense is after this weekend's game. So I'm super excited about that. And meeting another creator, and someone that obviously has a wealth of knowledge. I believe he's a former coach or a current coach. So we'll get all that information before we go on. So anything else you want to finish up with today, Eric?
Thank all you guys in the chat for keeping the chat so active and going. I see Broski Bear just got in here. A little late today, Broski. All your friends were talking about you today. Your ears must have been ringing. I think they summoned him saying broski, broski, broski in the comments.
It's someone's burner account. I'm telling you. It's someone's burner account that is probably a Lions creator or a Lions fan or something. I gotta. It's why I'm trying to invite him to come on the show so we can see who this guy is. Yeah, or girl. We don't. It could be a girl.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Broski Bear is awesome. I love having Broski in the chat. Picks me up every morning, makes me laugh, makes me giggle. So nothing wrong with that.
All right, let's see. What else? You had nothing else you wanted to finish with?
No, I think that's it for today. Keep it light, keep it fresh. I'm interested in seeing this all 22 guy. Are you going to put his link to his channel in the chat somewhere?
It'll be linked when I put the show together. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I'd like to check stuff before.
I'll send it to you today.
Okay.
Yeah. If you don't know who all 22 is, man, you got to get on the train.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll finish with a couple of statements here. Who do we got here? We got J Mommy says, I'm a huge fan of him. Definitely has the inside info. Talking about the all 22. Let's see. Brent says all 22 is coming on with Will. Wow, he's awesome. He is, man. He's phenomenal at what he does. Brent Lighton says Sewell's cousin Kingsley is a huge project. His footwork is terrible. And so is Manu's. So before I get out of this, Manu, I got to see some better footwork from him. Was it just me, Eric, or did you notice like he shuffled? He didn't didn't take that big anchor step,
Yep.
The jab step or whatever they call it. He just didn't seem firm onto his feet.
And that's what takes down the mountain. When you don't have a good base, that's it. You're over the play.
Mike P says all 22 is a super addition. He's going to be great, man. We also learned he is not mortal. Who's not mortal? What did I miss there? Oh, Broski says, Will, I'm not Dan Thornton. Don't worry. My account was legit.
Come on, Broski.
Why would he say that?
I don't know.
You know that some people, you know what they say about the truth and lies, right? You know what they say about, I'm not saying anyone's an alcoholic, but I'm just using this as a reference. They say that, alcoholics, and if you are battling, look, there's help. You can get help. They do say that they always tell part of the truth when they lie. And I never understood that. But when for whatever reason, when they people are intoxicated, they always seem to tell the truth when they lie. And it made no sense to me. Like that statement made no sense to me until I started to really think about it. But there's always a little bit of lies in a truth. So I'm wondering if maybe Broski Bear is kind of giving us half and half here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So Brent Lighton put broski juice. So it's just like Beetlejuice. You say it 3 times and he appears.
Oh, yeah. No, Peter Van Larhoven. So, yeah, I know that Manu is a project. I absolutely know that. But footwork is something that gets you into the league. You know, you should have it established at least a little bit. And right now he's going through a lot. He's going through a gauntlet of trying to learn everything. And what Dan Campbell said very early in training camp was they were stripping Manu down to brand new. Like, throw everything out, and this is where you start. So he's learned everything from start to finish. You know, he's not finished, but from the start, brand new. They scrapped everything that he had, and they're trying to put him back together in phases from the way I understand it. But that's it for today. You guys have been great. I have to say that I can't stand these audio issues. The microphone makes your voice really sound funny if it's not working. So hopefully we'll have that fixed for tomorrow. And I definitely have to have it fixed by Monday, but I'll have it fixed by tomorrow. No matter what I have to do, I will get it fixed. I might have to use a different mixer or something until I can get it fixed. But all right, you guys have a wonderful day. We'll see you back tomorrow. So the game is at, what, 4 p.m. Eastern?
4 o'clock, yep.
So I'll probably start getting in around 3:15, 3:30 tomorrow, and we'll have a day watching the game. We'll have some fun. So you guys have a wonderful day. Go on, probably go Detroit Lions. We'll see you tomorrow, if not later today. Take care.
Go Detroit Lions, second and third string.
There we go.
I need to make some money.
Adam Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
This is the future.
All grit.
Evolution. This is the future.
All grit.
Evolution.